Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Super English Talks. My name is Jara, and I'm so happy that you are here with me today. It really makes me smile to know that you are listening. If this is your very first time joining us, let me tell you something important. You didn't just come here by accident. You are here because you truly want to learn, to grow, and to become more confident in yourself and in your English. And you're not alone in this. You are part of a big family of learners who all share the same dream, to get better step by step. On this podcast, we work very hard to make every episode helpful and full of ideas you can use. Why do we do this? Because we believe that even a small piece of knowledge, when it's shared with love and care, can make a very big difference in someone's life. It can give hope, bring light, and change the way you see your journey. This podcast is not only about learning new words or grammar rules. Yes, those things are important, but there's something even bigger. It's about unlocking your true potential. It's about discovering new ways of thinking, new ways of speaking, and new ways of connecting with the world around you. Each conversation, each idea, each clear moment you have with English brings you closer to that stronger, more confident version of yourself. So, if this message feels right for you, if you are ready to grow, to find inspiration, and to open up the amazing possibilities that are already inside you, then please stay with us. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Together, we will walk this path of learning, step by step, one conversation at a time. Now, let's talk about today's big topic. It's an idea that can completely change the way you learn English. The idea is, you can improve your English by thinking in English. This is not just a nice slogan or a passing trend. No, this is a real change, a deep transformation in how you experience English every single day. When you learn to think in English, you'll be able to speak more smoothly, feel more confident, and connect with other people more naturally. It's not only about learning English, it's about changing your whole relationship with English. So, find a comfortable spot. Maybe you have a cup of tea or coffee with you. Relax, take a breath, and get ready because we are about to explore this idea in a deep and simple way. Now, let me share something I hear very often from learners. Many of you say to me, Jara, I can read English books. I can listen to podcasts and watch movies, and I understand quite well. But when I try to speak, it's like my brain stops working. I freeze. The words don't come out. It feels like I'm translating everything in my head, word by word, before I can even say a single sentence. Does that sound familiar to you? If it does, let me tell you, you are not alone. Almost every English learner feels this way at some point. And honestly, this is one of the biggest challenges people face. I call this problem the translation treadmill. What does that mean? Well, imagine you are walking on a treadmill in the gym. You keep moving your legs, but you are not really going anywhere. You are just stuck in one place. That's exactly what happens when you translate in your head all the time. At first, when you are just beginning to learn English, it makes sense. Translating is like a bridge. It helps you connect your own language with English. But after some time, that bridge becomes a heavy weight. It slows you down. It stops you from speaking freely and naturally. Translating every single word is tiring. It's slow, and it makes conversations feel stressful instead of fun. You cannot enjoy talking if you are always stuck thinking, what's the translation for this? What's the right word? But here's the good news. You don't have to stay on that translation treadmill forever. Thinking in English is like stepping off that machine and finally walking or running freely. You begin to find your own rhythm in English. Your words start to flow more naturally. You don't feel blocked. You don't feel trapped. Instead, you feel light and free. That is the power of thinking in English. Let's picture something together for a moment. Imagine you're running in a race. You want to move forward, but before you can take one step ahead, you first have to step to the side, then take another step backward, just to prepare yourself. Only then can you finally take that one little step forward. Frustrating, right? That's exactly what it feels like to be stuck on the translation treadmill. It wears out your brain, it wastes your time, and it takes away all the fun of simply talking and connecting with people in English. Our goal today is very clear. We want to help you step off that treadmill. We're going to do this by sharing personal stories, explaining big ideas in very simple terms, and giving you lots of practical things you can try. By the end, you'll have the tools, the confidence, and the right mindset to not only speak English, but to think in English. You'll start to feel that English is not something outside of you. It becomes a natural part of your thoughts, almost like an extension of your mind and spirit. So let's dive in. But before we learn how to think in English, we need to first understand what's really stopping us, the translation treadmill. Now, this is very important. It's not because you're not smart, and it's not because you can't learn. It's simply a habit that starts early, back when English felt like a puzzle and the only way to solve it was by translating everything into your first language. At its core, the translation treadmill is a mental process. It's what happens when you automatically change every English word or sentence into your native language before you can understand it or answer. For example, imagine someone asks you, "How are you?" Without even noticing, your brain might go through a whole hidden journey. Step 1. Hear "How are you?" in English. Step 2. Translate it into your native language. Step 3. Understand the meaning in your native language. Step 4. Think of an answer in your native language. Step 5. Translate your answer back into English. Step 6. Finally say, "I'm fine, thank you." All of that happens in just a second or two, but those extra seconds matter. They cause small delays. They make you hesitate. And they give you that uncomfortable feeling of being out of rhythm in the conversation. It's almost like there's an extra middleman inside your brain, slowing everything down when all you want to do is speak freely. Let me share a story to make this real for you. I once worked with a very talented young architect named Hyoki. He was brilliant. His grammar was excellent, almost perfect. On paper, he could write professional reports in English without a mistake. He could read difficult, technical documents and understand them better than most. He was impressive. But when it came to speaking, something was holding him back. Every time I asked him a question, there was a tiny pause before he answered. Sometimes, I could even see the struggle on his face, as if his brain was fighting with itself. One day during our session, I showed him a picture of a busy city street. Cars, buses, people, shops. It was full of life. I asked him a simple question. "Can you describe this picture to me?" He looked at the picture, then looked away, then looked back again. His forehead wrinkled. He was concentrating so hard. It wasn't that he didn't know the words, he did. The problem was that his brain was trying to translate everything first, instead of just thinking in English. After a long pause, Hyoki finally spoke. Very slowly, he said, "Many cars are on road, people walking quickly." Each word felt like it had been pulled out of a separate box, one at a time, instead of flowing naturally. So I gently asked him, "Hiro, my friend, what was happening inside your head just now? What were you really thinking?" He gave a little sigh, looking a bit embarrassed, and said, "Jara, it's like this. I see the cars, and in my head, I immediately say the word car in Japanese. Then I think, okay, how do I say that in English? Then I think of the action, running. I first think of it in Japanese, then change it to English. Same with walking. Same with every word. It's like I have two brains inside me trying to talk to each other, but they don't agree. That moment was such a clear example of the translation treadmill at work. Hyoki was still doing all of his thinking in his native language. English was not his main thinking tool, it was just a second step, a translation layer. And that second step was slowing him down and making his sentences sound unnatural. Instead of forming thoughts in English directly, he was only taking Japanese thoughts and trying to convert them into English. And here's the truth. This doesn't just make you slower. The translation treadmill comes with many hidden costs that can seriously hold back your English progress. Let's look at them one by one. 1. It slows down your fluency and creates hesitation. Every time you translate in your head, your brain is doing extra work. That back and forth switching creates mental friction. It's like your brain is using all its energy just to convert words, instead of letting them flow naturally. That's why you hear yourself pausing, saying, or speaking in a stop-and-start way. To other people, it may even sound like you don't know enough English, but really, the problem is just how your brain is processing the words. 2. It takes away spontaneity and naturalness. Real conversations move fast. People laugh, joke, interrupt, and react quickly. If you're busy translating in your head, you're always one step behind. By the time you find the right words, the moment may have already passed. You miss the chance to make a quick joke, use a natural phrase, or respond with real emotion. Your answers might sound correct, but they won't feel alive. 3. It causes grammar problems and very literal translations. When you translate word by word, you often carry the sentence structure of your native language into English. Even if each word is correct, the result can sound strange or awkward. For example, in some languages, the verb comes at the end of the sentence. If you try to speak English the same way, your sentences will sound confusing or unnatural. It's like trying to fit one puzzle piece into the wrong puzzle. It doesn't quite click. 4. It makes you mentally tired and burned out. Think about running on a treadmill for hours. You're moving, but you're not getting anywhere and you're exhausted. The translation treadmill is the same for your brain. Constantly switching between two languages takes a huge amount of mental energy. This leads to frustration, tiredness, and sometimes even the feeling that you don't want to practice English anymore. 5. It keeps you from fully living in English. When you always translate, English never feels like your language. You're always keeping it at arm's length, treating it as something separate. You're not really thinking in it, you're just visiting it. True fluency comes when you stop translating and start living in the language, when English becomes a natural part of your thoughts and not just a tool for communication. True immersion, that wonderful feeling of being completely surrounded by English and truly comfortable in it, only begins when English becomes the language of your inner world. Not just the words you say out loud, but the words you think inside your head. The very first step to breaking free from the translation treadmill is awareness. You need to notice it. Think of yourself as a detective of your own thoughts. Become a gentle observer of what happens in your mind. Ask yourself, when do I translate the most? Is it when I try to describe something new? When someone asks me for my opinion on a difficult topic? Or maybe when I hear a new phrase and my brain immediately jumps to my first language before I can really understand it? Here are some clear signs that show the translation treadmill is running inside your head. You feel a small but consistent delay before speaking, or right after you hear someone else. It's almost like you can feel your brain doing a quick conversion behind the scenes. You build sentences word by word instead of letting whole phrases or natural expressions come out smoothly. You pay more attention to individual words and their translations than to the overall meaning of what's being said. And a big one, you feel mentally tired after speaking English. Much more tired than seems normal for the short conversation you had. If you notice these things, don't judge yourself. Don't get upset. Just observe them with curiosity. This step is incredibly powerful because it takes something that used to be automatic and hidden, your constant translating, and brings it into your conscious awareness. Once you see it, you can change it. Think of it like drawing a map before starting a journey. You can't escape the treadmill unless you first know exactly where it is and how it works in your mind. Now that we understand the challenge, let's move toward the solution. The heart of thinking in English is this: creating direct connections between ideas and English words without passing through your native language. It's about building new pathways in your brain, like creating a shortcut that gets you to your destination faster. And it all begins with the simplest things: your everyday life. The ordinary objects and actions you see and do all the time. Here's a simple but very powerful exercise to get started. It's called direct labeling. Right now, wherever you are, take a look around. Notice the objects near you. Instead of thinking of their names in your native language and then translating them, try to go straight to English. If you see a table, just think table. If you see a chair, think chair. If you see a book, think book. Do this for everything you can see: the lamp, the wall, the window, the floor, your hand, your clothes, your phone. Silently name them in English. This might seem almost too easy, but don't underestimate it. The power comes from repeating it consistently. Every time you do this, you are training your brain to connect the object or idea directly with the English word. No translation needed. This is the first brick, the foundation of your English thinking process. Once this becomes natural, you can slowly expand the practice. Instead of only labeling objects, start labeling actions. For example, when you pick up a glass, think drink. When you sit down, think sit. When you walk across the room, think walk. Little by little, your brain will start skipping the translation step and going straight to English. This is how you begin to build the habit of thinking in English every day. As you go through your day, try to silently narrate your actions in English. Imagine you are your own personal narrator. For example, when you wake up in the morning, you can think, I am waking up. I am stretching my arms and legs. I am getting out of bed. I am walking to the kitchen. I am boiling water for tea. I am pouring water into my cup. I am drinking tea. This is your internal narrator speaking. A quiet voice inside your head that comments on your life in English. This exercise is powerful because it makes you use the most common English verbs and the present continuous tense. I am doing. These forms are the building blocks of everyday communication. And the best part is, it's low pressure. You're not speaking to anyone else. You're not being judged. It's just you practicing freely, training your brain to process English in real time. Let me share a story about one of my students, Anna. Anna was an amazing writer. Her essays were beautiful, organized, thoughtful, and full of great vocabulary. But when it came to speaking spontaneously, she was extremely shy. The moment she had to talk with someone in real time, fear and pressure froze her. She worried about mistakes. She worried about being judged. And because of that, her words wouldn't come out. So I suggested she try this internal narration technique. At first, she laughed and said, Jara, I'll look completely silly talking to myself all day. people will think I'm crazy. But she really wanted to improve her speaking, so she decided to give it a try for just 1 week. A few days later, she sent me the most excited message. She wrote, "Jara, you won't believe what happened today. I was washing the dishes this morning, just scrubbing plates, when suddenly my inner voice started speaking in English. It said, 'I am washing this plate. It's dirty. I need more soap. Now I am rinsing it under the water.' And the amazing part is, I didn't even think about it. I didn't translate. The sentences just came to me naturally in English. It felt so easy, like the words had always been inside me." That moment changed everything for Anna. She realized that by practicing in a completely safe, low-pressure environment, she could build her confidence step by step. She could make mistakes privately, correct herself silently, and most importantly, allow English to become a natural part of her inner world. This technique doesn't need to stop with your personal actions either. You can expand it to your surroundings. When you're on a bus, walking in the park, or sitting in a cafe, silently describe what you see around you. The sky is blue today. There are many cars on the road, and they're moving slowly. That tall building has many windows. A woman is walking her dog, and the dog looks very happy. The leaves on the trees are turning yellow. At the beginning, keep your sentences short and simple. Use basic vocabulary. Don't worry about being perfect. The goal is to train your brain to look at the world and describe it directly in English without translation. This builds momentum. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Step by step, your brain learns, "I can think in English." Don't worry too much about perfect grammar or using advanced words at this stage. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is simply to make English your default language for noticing, observing, and describing the world around you. This kind of gentle, consistent practice does 3 powerful things. It strengthens your vocabulary through repetition. It reinforces simple but important sentence structures. It helps you feel the natural rhythm and flow of English expression. Little by little, English becomes part of the way you experience your surroundings, not just something you study, but something you live. Let me share another story with you. This time it's about a young man named Leo who moved from Brazil to Los Angeles. Leo was bright, friendly, and eager to build a new life in the U.S. He wanted to connect with people, make friends, and feel at home. But he faced one big challenge. He was constantly translating in his head. Whenever people spoke quickly, used slang, or made jokes, he felt like he was always a step behind. Conversations felt like a race where he could never quite catch up. So I suggested he try internal narration, but with a twist. I told him to use his daily commute as practice time. Every morning, on the bus ride from his apartment in Santa Monica to his job downtown, he started narrating what he saw and thought. The bus is moving down Wilshire Boulevard. I see palm trees and tall buildings. There's a coffee shop on the corner, and a group of people are waiting outside. The sun is really bright today. I wonder if I should grab a smoothie for lunch. Maybe the green one. No, I had that yesterday. As he got comfortable, he pushed it further. He started describing people's expressions, even imagining their thoughts. That woman looks a bit stressed. Maybe she's late for work. The guy with headphones seems relaxed. He's probably listening to music. Nobody heard him. Nobody judged him. But little by little, his brain was training itself to process the world in English directly. After a few months, he came back to me smiling. He said, "Jara, it's like a switch flipped. I still dream in Portuguese sometimes, but during the day, my thoughts just naturally come out in English. It doesn't feel forced anymore. I can join conversations without that awkward pause." And I even understand American jokes better. Leo's story is a great reminder that even something as simple as silent narration, done consistently, can help you cross the bridge from translation to true English thinking. And when that happens, everyday interactions feel so much easier, smoother, and more natural. Now, once you feel comfortable with simple narration and description, it's time to deepen your internal monologue. This is the next level. Instead of only describing what you see, begin to describe what you feel and think. This is where your growing English skills really come alive because you already know enough vocabulary and grammar to explore more complex ideas. For example, instead of just saying, "I feel bad," try to be more specific. "I'm feeling a bit frustrated today because my internet connection is very slow. I can't finish my work, which is really annoying. I'm so excited about the weekend because I'll visit my family. I haven't seen them in months, and I miss them a lot." As you get better, challenge yourself to capture small details and subtle emotions. "I'm feeling relieved that the exam is finally over. It was harder than I expected, but I think I did reasonably well. So overall, I'm hopeful. I'm a little nervous about the presentation tomorrow because it's in front of a large audience, and I always get stage fright. But I'm also determined to do my best and prove myself, so I'll push through." Notice how these examples mix feelings, reasons, and reflections. They aren't just flat statements. They're little stories about your inner world. And practicing them in English helps you gain both emotional vocabulary and confidence to express yourself more deeply. Smooth transitions between stories. Right now, the switch from Chloe's emotional journaling to Sarah's artistic narration is a bit abrupt. You might add a linking sentence, such as, "Just like Chloe used English to connect with her emotions, Sarah found a way to connect her creativity with the language." That way, the reader sees how each example builds on the last. Highlight the progression. You've shown how the technique grows. First daily narration, then emotions, then creativity. To make that clear, you could explicitly point out the progression like, "As you can see, internal narration doesn't stay limited to basic actions. It can grow with you, from describing what you see, to exploring how you feel, to even expressing your deepest passions." Make the lesson universal. After Sarah's story, it might be powerful to add a short reflection to tie it back to the reader. Whether your passion is art, music, science, or even cooking, you can use this same technique to bring English into the things you care most about. Tighten some long sentences. A few sentences, like Sarah's narration example, are a bit long. Breaking them up can make them more digestible for learners who may not have strong reading stamina yet. Would you like me to rework this whole section into a polished version with smoother transitions and a clear progression path for the reader, while keeping all the stories and examples intact? Here are some ways you could polish and tighten it further. 1. Strengthen transitions. Right now, the shift from Sarah's creative journey to summarizing articles happens quite suddenly. A short linking phrase could smooth it out. Just as Sarah used English to deepen her creativity, you can also use it to sharpen your ability to think critically and explain complex ideas. Similarly, when moving from summarization consuming English actively, you could bridge with, "But thinking in English isn't only about producing ideas. It's also about how you take in and process information." 2. Make the examples more digestible. Some sentences, like the sample summaries and resilience example, are a bit long. Breaking them into smaller parts will help learners follow them more easily. For example, instead of, "This article explains how technology has transformed communication over the last few decades," it highlights that while it brings people closer, it also raises concerns about privacy and screen time. Therefore, we need to find a balance. You could present it as, this article explains how technology has transformed communication. It highlights that while it brings people closer, it also raises concerns about privacy and screen time. Therefore, we need to find a balance. 3. Emphasize learner empowerment. When talking about resisting the urge to translate or look up words immediately, you could frame it positively. By training yourself to trust context first, you strengthen your independence as a learner and start to truly think in English without relying on translations. 4. Bring it back to the reader. At the end of this section, you could wrap up with a unifying reminder. Whether you're creating, analyzing, or simply taking in English, the key is to stay inside the language itself. That's what builds the mental habit of truly thinking in English. After you listen to English, it's always good to stop for a moment and think about what you heard. For example, maybe you hear someone say, "It's raining cats and dogs." At first, you might imagine animals falling from the sky. But then you realize, they don't really mean cats and dogs. They mean it is raining very, very heavily. When you process idioms like this directly in English, you move beyond just translating word by word. You start to understand the deeper meaning, the humor, and even the culture behind the words. This is how you build a natural understanding of English, the way native speakers use it every day. I had a student named Maria who learned this in a powerful way. She absolutely loved watching English TV shows. At the beginning, she always watched with subtitles in her own language. She enjoyed the stories, the jokes, and the characters, but she noticed something important. Even though she was watching a lot, her speaking and listening skills were not improving as much as she wanted. So, I gave her a challenge. I told her to try English subtitles instead. At first, she was nervous. She thought, what if I don't understand anything? What if I miss the story? But she decided to give it a try. Slowly, she started watching with English subtitles, and then eventually, she became brave enough to watch without any subtitles at all. At the beginning, it was difficult. But Maria built a new habit. She would pause the show often. She would replay short parts, not to translate, but to listen carefully. She focused on how the characters spoke, the rhythm of their sentences, the way certain words were stressed, the emotions in their voices. She even copied them quietly. For example, when a character said, "Are you serious?" she would repeat it to herself and think, "Oh, so this is how you show disbelief in English." The tone rises at the end, the eyebrows lift up, and the voice sounds surprised. This active way of listening changed everything for her. Instead of only understanding words, she began to understand full conversations, the natural flow of speech, and even the emotions hidden inside the voices. Step by step, she became a sharper listener. She didn't just hear English anymore, she really understood it. Once you reach the stage, you can go even further. Thinking in English is not only about listening or talking to yourself. A very advanced and useful step is to use English for practical tasks, things you actually need to do in daily life. This makes your English truly functional because you are using it for real problem solving, planning, and decision making. Let's take an example. Imagine you want to travel to a new part of your city, but you don't know the best way to get there. Normally, you might think about it in your own language. But now, try to do the whole process in English. For instance, think, if I take the subway from here, I will need to change lines at the central station. But if I take the bus, maybe it's more direct. However, the bus could get stuck in traffic during rush hour. Which option is better? The subway is usually faster and more reliable. So yes, I'll take the subway. Notice what happened here. You are solving a real problem, but you're doing it completely in English. You are using words like if, then, but, however, so, all the connecting words that make your English logical and clear. This way, English is not just a subject you study. It becomes the actual language of your thinking, your choices, and your daily life. Comparing words like more direct or faster and asking strategic questions is a great way to practice English in a real and practical way. This kind of thinking prepares you for situations in real life where you might need to give directions, make plans, or discuss logistics with others. For example, think about planning your weekend entirely in English. You might do it like this in your mind. On Saturday morning, I want to go to the farmer's market to buy fresh vegetables. After that, I'll meet my friend Sarah for lunch at that new cafe downtown. In the afternoon, if the weather is good, I might go for a hike in the park. If it rains, maybe I will stay home and read a book. On Sunday, I definitely need to finish my work report, which is due Monday. Later in the evening, I might watch a movie and enjoy some popcorn. By thinking this way, you are not only practicing future tenses and time expressions like after that in the afternoon and then, but you are also learning how to organize your ideas clearly. When the time comes to tell someone your plans, the words are already ready in your English mind. This creates a kind of mental blueprint for communication. Let me share a story of someone who used this idea in a professional setting. His name is Kenji, and he is a logistics manager. His work involves planning complicated schedules and solving supply chain problems across different countries. Kenji often felt that he understood everything perfectly in his own mind, but he struggled to explain solutions quickly and clearly in English, especially when under pressure. Kenji decided to use mental English thinking during his daily routines. During his commute or even short breaks, he would imagine work scenarios and think through them entirely in English. For example, the shipment is delayed because of a customs issue at port A. What are the consequences of this delay? The client might receive their order late, which could affect our relationship. What can I do to solve this? I could try to reroute through port B, but that would cost more money and time. Or I could call the client, explain the situation clearly, and offer a partial refund for the inconvenience. By doing this kind of internal problem solving in English, Kenji became much more confident. When he had to discuss these issues with his international team, it felt like he had already rehearsed the conversation in his head. This made his real-life communication smoother, faster, and more effective. Kenji's story shows how thinking in English can improve professional skills, making you a clearer communicator and a more confident team member. Practical thinking in English isn't just for work. It can also help in social situations. Let me tell you about Isabella, a woman from Italy who moved to New York City. She is a fantastic chef, and her English is good for professional work in the kitchen. But when it came to casual conversations with new friends, her English felt stiff and unnatural. Just like Kenji, Isabella could start using mental English thinking for everyday situations, imagining conversations, practicing how she would respond to questions, or describing her day in her mind. By doing this, she began to feel more confident and fluent in casual social interactions. Isabella really wanted to make friends and feel at home in New York City. I suggested a simple technique: mentally plan her social outings and interactions in English before they happened. For example, before going to a new restaurant, she would think in English. Okay, I'm going to that new Italian place tonight. What should I order? Maybe the lasagna or the risotto with mushrooms. I should ask about the specials. And if my friends ask me about my day, I'll tell them about that funny thing that happened at the market this morning. I hope they like the restaurant. I heard it's really popular. She even practiced other situations in her mind, like asking for the check or complimenting the food. This simple mental rehearsal made a huge difference. She told me, "Jara, it really helped. I wasn't scrambling for words. I felt like I had already had the conversation in my head. I felt much more comfortable and confident just being myself." Isabella's experience shows that thinking in English is not only useful for work or school, it can also help you build real social connections and feel more at ease in an English-speaking environment, making English thinking fun and playful. To keep thinking in English a habit for a long time, it's important to make it enjoyable. Language learning shouldn't feel like boring homework or a strict chore. Instead, try to make it a playful game, a curious exploration. One simple and fun exercise is English word association. You can do this anytime your mind is free, like while waiting in line or on a short break. Here's how it works. Pick any English word that comes to mind. Then, think of another word it reminds you of, and keep going, creating a chain of connected words. For example, table, chair, wood, tree, green, grass, park, play, fun, laugh, smile, happy day, sun, warm, summer, beach, ocean, blue. This exercise helps your brain build strong connections between words and ideas in English without going through your native language. Over time, your vocabulary retrieval will become faster and more natural. Another fun and useful exercise is mentally describing people you see in public. Always do this respectfully and only for your own practice. Simply observe and describe what you notice. For example, that woman is wearing a bright yellow coat. She has long, wavy brown hair. She looks like she's in a hurry, maybe going to an important appointment. That man has a friendly smile and is carrying a large, old leather briefcase. He looks like a professor or maybe a writer deep in thought. This practice helps you learn words to describe people, clothing, and actions. Pay closer attention to details. Form clear, flowing sentences in English on the spot. Build a mental vocabulary to describe the world around you. You can also practice by mentally summarizing a movie or book you just watched or read in English. Think about the main events, the characters, and the ideas. This helps you process information and express it clearly in English, strengthening both your comprehension and speaking skills. When you practice thinking in English, a very useful exercise is to mentally summarize movies, books, or stories you have experienced. Ask yourself questions like, what was the main story? Who were the main characters? What was my favorite scene? And why did I like it so much? What was the main message or theme? For example, you might think, the movie was about a young woman who discovers she has a hidden magical ability. The plot was exciting and kept me on the edge of my seat the whole time. My favorite character was the wise old mentor. He gave many helpful insights and seemed very kind. Overall, it was a captivating story about self-discovery and finding your true power. This is a fantastic way to practice storytelling, expressing opinions, and using a wider range of vocabulary. Doing this exercise in your mind is low pressure, completely safe, and private. It helps you build your narrative muscle, improving your ability to talk about entertainment, challenges, patience, persistence, and self-expression. The reality of learning to think in English. Now, let's be honest. Keeping a habit like thinking in English is not always smooth or easy. There will be days when your brain feels tired, or you may find yourself automatically switching back to your native language without noticing. This is completely normal. The key is not to get discouraged or frustrated. Learning a language is like running a marathon, not a sprint. There will be ups and downs in your energy, focus, and motivation. Like learning any new skill, it takes time and consistent effort. At first, it can feel slow and difficult because your brain is forming new habits. Don't expect to write long essays or complex thoughts in English immediately. Start very small. First, think single words. Then, try very simple sentences. Later, move on to short paragraphs. Think of it like building a new muscle at the gym. You don't start by lifting the heaviest weights. You begin with light weights and gradually increase as you grow stronger. The same goes for thinking in English. The more consistently you practice, even in short bursts, the faster and more automatic it becomes. Every small step counts. Consistency is more important than intensity. Mistakes are your best friend. You might notice that you make mistakes in your thoughts. Maybe a sentence sounds silly, or the grammar is not correct. That is not a problem. It's actually a huge opportunity. Thinking in English is completely private. No one hears your thoughts except you. This means you are free to try things, make mistakes, and learn from them without any embarrassment. Whenever you notice a mistake, gently correct it immediately. For example, if you think, "I go to the market yesterday," correct yourself in your mind. "Oh no, it should be, I went to the market yesterday." This active, immediate self-correction is one of the most powerful ways to learn. Every time you correct yourself, your brain strengthens the correct grammar patterns and word usage. Let me tell you about a student named Liam. He always aimed for perfection and was afraid of making mistakes, even in his own thoughts. This fear held him back. I helped him see that these mental mistakes are like tiny, personalized lessons. Each correction helps your brain build a stronger, more accurate path for English. Over time, Liam made fewer mistakes, and his confidence grew because he knew he was learning effectively. Third, you might sometimes feel stuck while thinking in English. You might run out of words, ideas, or get paused because you don't know how to say something. This is normal. When this happens, interact more actively with your surroundings or your learning materials. For example, if you are thinking about your morning routine and you don't know the English word for an object, simply make a mental note to look it up later. Don't stop your whole practice session because of one word. If you struggle to express a complex idea, try simplifying it first. Break it into smaller, easier thoughts. You don't need perfect sentences right away. The important thing is to keep practicing. Also, constantly expose yourself to English content. The more you read, listen, and experience real English through books, podcasts, movies, or conversations, the more words, phrases, and sentence structures will naturally enter your active vocabulary. These words will then be ready for your mental conversations. Remember, thinking in English is a working relationship with the language. When you think in English, it improves your language skills. And better English gives you more tools to think with. It becomes a continuous loop of growth, where learning and thinking support each other. Fourth, at the beginning, thinking in English might feel unnatural or forced. This is completely normal. Any new habit, like exercising, learning a musical instrument, or even brushing your teeth, feels strange at first. The key to overcoming this is consistency. Start small. Just 5 to 10 minutes a day is enough to begin. Use moments when your mind is usually free, such as during your commute, while doing household chores, or just before falling asleep. With regular practice, these short periods will naturally get longer. Eventually, thinking in English will feel effortless, almost like a natural part of your daily life. It will become your new normal. Connect English thinking to your goals. The most powerful effect of thinking in English comes when you link it to your personal or professional goals. Ask yourself, why are you learning English? Is it for travel, your career, personal growth, or to connect with people from different cultures? Whatever your reason, thinking in English directly supports it and makes your practice meaningful. For example, if your goal is travel, imagine real-life situations and practice them in English. Picture yourself at a restaurant. I'd like to order the vegetarian pasta, please. Does it come with a side salad? Could I also have a glass of sparkling water? Or imagine asking for directions in a new city. Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the nearest bus station? Is it far? What's the best way to walk there? These mental exercises prepare you for real-life situations. They reduce stress and make sure the words and phrases you need are ready when you actually speak. It builds practical fluency. If your goal is career growth, you can use thinking in English to prepare for professional situations. For example, imagine your next meeting, presentation, or client call. I need to discuss the project timeline with my team. We have 3 main tasks to complete this week. I'll start by explaining the deadlines and asking for updates. Then I need to propose a plan for the next phase and check if anyone has questions. Mentally rehearsing like this helps you organize your ideas in English, boosts your confidence, and makes real conversations much smoother. When you regularly practice thinking in English, you begin to notice big changes in your life and learning. For example, in your work, you can prepare mentally for meetings or presentations. You might think to yourself, I will highlight the progress we have made so far and explain any challenges or risks we are facing. I also need to suggest a new strategy for marketing our product. By practicing this way, you organize your thoughts in English, learn to use specific professional words, and gain the ability to express your ideas clearly and confidently. When you actually speak in a real meeting, this preparation makes you more effective and persuasive. It helps you become a stronger communicator at work. Thinking in English is not only useful for professional situations. It also supports your personal growth and your ability to connect with the wider world. For example, when you watch an English movie, listen to a song, or read a book, thinking in English allows you to notice the small details, the expressions, the humor, and the cultural references, without constantly translating. You can also participate in online communities, forums, or discussions with people around the world, understanding and sharing ideas more deeply. Over time, this consistent practice leads to a remarkable transformation. You will notice that it takes much less time to respond during English conversations. You will no longer feel like you are always translating in your head. Instead, you will feel like you are genuinely thinking in English. This change is powerful. It makes your speech more spontaneous, natural, and confident. You'll be able to explain your thoughts and complex ideas more clearly, more easily, and with much less effort to find the right words. You will sound more fluent and natural because your brain has built direct pathways for thinking in English. Beyond fluency, thinking in English helps you develop what we can call an English linguistic identity. You start to instinctively understand the subtle meanings behind words, the jokes and humor, the cultural references, and the ways native speakers naturally express themselves. You move from being someone who simply speaks English to someone who truly performs in English, someone who thinks, understands, and expresses themselves in the language as naturally as they do in their own mind. This is the ultimate goal of learning a language. To reach a point where English is not just something you use, it becomes a natural, effortless part of the way you think. It becomes like a second native tongue inside your mind. When you achieve this, the transformation is amazing. Your ability to respond quickly and naturally in conversations will increase dramatically. You will feel confident expressing your ideas, even complicated ones, and you will do so with clarity and ease. Speaking English will no longer feel like a struggle. It will feel like an effortless extension of your own thoughts. In short, the real power of thinking in English is that it changes how you use the language in your life. It makes your English automatic, confident, and deeply connected to how your mind works. You stop just translating words and start truly thinking in English, and that is when the magic happens. More than just becoming fluent, thinking in English helps you develop what we can call an English linguistic identity. This means that over time, you start to naturally understand the small details of the language, the subtle meanings of words, the humor built into expressions, common cultural references, and the many little ways native speakers express themselves. You stop being someone who just speaks English and start becoming someone who truly performs in English, someone who lives the language and feels it as a natural part of your mind. This is the ultimate goal of learning a language, to understand it so deeply that it becomes an effortless part of the way your mind works, like a second native tongue. Let me remind you of my friend Lena, whose early struggles with the translation treadmill we talked about at the beginning. After months of consistent practice, starting with simple thoughts about her daily life, then planning presentations in her head, and later having complex internal debates about her career, she had a truly amazing breakthrough. One day, she gave a very important presentation at an international conference entirely in English. Afterward, she called me, her voice full of excitement. "Jara," she said, "it was incredible. I wasn't thinking about the words. I was just thinking about the ideas I wanted to share. The English just came out naturally, almost without me even trying. For the first time, I truly felt like myself speaking English, as if it were my own language." That, my friends, is the true power of thinking in English. It gives you the freedom to express your authentic self. It is a freedom to communicate naturally, confidently, and fully. This journey, I want to be honest, does not happen overnight. It takes patience, consistent effort, and a willingness to step outside your comfort zone. But the rewards are enormous. You are not just learning words or grammar. You are actively reshaping your brain to think in a new language. You are expanding your mind, discovering new ways to experience the world, and connecting with it more deeply. Let's quickly review the path we have explored for truly mastering the art of thinking in English. Understand the translation treadmill. Notice how translating in your head slows you down and makes your English less natural. Cultivate awareness. Pay attention to your thoughts and see when your brain automatically translates. Forge direct connections. Link concepts and ideas directly to English words instead of your native language. Use internal monologue. Narrate your daily life in English, from simple actions to more complex feelings and opinions. Express emotions and thoughts. Describe your feelings, experiences, and ideas entirely in English. Engage actively with English content. Read, listen, and watch, and process the meaning directly in English. Apply functional English. Use English for problem-solving, planning, and organizing your day. Practice storytelling and reflection. Summarize movies, books, or events in English, sharing your opinions and insights. Connect English to your goals, whether for work, travel, personal growth, or social connections. Let English support what matters most to you. By following this path, English stops being just a language you use. It becomes a language you think in, feel in, and live in. This is the ultimate transformation, not just fluency, but freedom, confidence, and a new way of experiencing the world. We also talked about making the process fun and curious. Learning English doesn't have to feel like a boring task or schoolwork. By treating it as a playful exploration, you stay motivated and enjoy the journey. At the same time, you will face challenges, days when your brain feels tired, words don't come, or you slip back into your native language. That is completely normal. The key is to approach yourself with kindness and patience, not judgment. Celebrate every small success along the way, like the moment you notice you've just thought a complete, clear sentence in English without even trying. We also discuss the importance of connecting this practice to your personal and professional goals. Whether it's improving your career, traveling, making friends, or personal growth, thinking in English strengthens your ability to achieve these goals. By linking your English practice to things that truly matter to you, learning becomes meaningful, motivating, and practical. Every single moment of your day is an opportunity to practice thinking in English. While waiting for the bus, cooking, exercising, or even lying in bed before sleep, you can gently engage your mind in English. Start small, be consistent every day, and remember to be kind to yourself. Consistent practice, even in short bursts, builds a strong and lasting habit. When you follow all these steps, building awareness, narrating your life, expressing thoughts and emotions, engaging with content, problem-solving, planning, and connecting to your goals, you create a truly transformative impact on your English. Over time, you develop fluency, confidence, and a genuine English linguistic identity. English becomes not just something you speak, but a natural way you think and experience the world. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode. I sincerely hope this in-depth exploration of how to improve your English by thinking in English has given you not just knowledge, but also motivation and practical tools to advance your learning. This is Jara signing off. Keep practicing, keep thinking, and keep learning. I'll be back with you next time for another inspiring episode.